What is up, guys? This is James from My Car DIY, and I think we figured out the issue to the Prelude. So let me take you under the hood and show you exactly what we found. Alright guys, so the problem with the Prelude was it would stop charging after a little bit of driving, and we just couldn't figure it out. After doing some electrical diagnostics, we found out that one of the wires here this is the alternator wires. You see the brake comes down here, the main power comes off here, and then you have the connector here, the 4-wire connector, which I'll refer to it as. But in that 4-wire connector you have 4 wires, and these wires basically control the operation of the alternator. What we found was the black and yellow wire, which is the ignition source. So when you turn the key, it sends 12 volts to the alternator, which tells the voltage regulator, hey, the car's on, get ready to work, let's do this. Well, when the alternator would quit charging, we found out that that black and yellow ignition wire is losing its 12 volts. So to the alternator, when it quit working, it had the mindset of, oh, the car's off. So of course, if the car's off, the voltage regulator goes, yeah, we don't need to do anything. We're not charging. Somewhere on that black and yellow wire that goes along here to the harness and to the junction box and all that crap, something wrong with that wire. Bad connection, a broken wire, something. I'm not going to diagnose and figure out where that wire is. Now I might eventually take this and run a new wire all the way, because it's broken at some point, and it's going to be easier just to run a new wire with the harness than go through and completely redo it. But for the meantime, to actually fix the problem, you can see here, we cut the black and yellow wire, and we actually soldered onto here. And I need to fix this because my dad's solder job is a little loose. So it stopped charging when I test drove it yesterday, but when we jiggled this, it started working. And then we were squeezing this, and we found that you squeeze this connection better together, it was working just fine. But what we did was we cut that wire, we spliced into it, and that wire actually runs behind the engine over here to the ignition coil. And I'll take you back here to look. So you can see right here, this is that wire that comes to the ignition coil. And this right here is an inline 15 amp fuse. So that way, if anything does happen with the alternator itself, power surge, whatever, it won't fry the ignition coil system. But the wire that we spliced into over here is the same 12 volt ignition wire is here. It's just on a different circuit. The alternator gets that 12 volts from the ignition, the key turn on, the same time as the ignition. So we took that same function wire and we just spliced into it, ran it directly to the alternator. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to chop this, strip it, put a butt connector on it, make sure it's good, tape up this entire harness back up, and then go for a test drive, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, as you can see, we got it crimped on. It's a good connection. You tug on that, you pull on it, it's not coming apart, which is how you know you've made a good crimp. Alright, let's get this whole harness taped back up, put back together, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, we are all taped up and ready to go. So let's go ahead and plug the alternator back in, the connector. There we go. Get clicked on there. Make sure we're in there good. Yep, okay. So now the alternator connection is wrapped up. I taped this up because the rubber boot was splitting. Got this all taped up down to here, so no more exposed wires from the repair job. Everything's taped up all the way up to here, and it looks nice and clean and buttoned up again. Let me put away my tools. Let's start the car and let's see what happens. So as you can see, we have 14.6 volts. The alternator is working and charging the battery like it should. Let's go take it for a test drive, see what happens. Alright guys, so the test drive went great. The alternator doesn't stop working. It does, the ELD works, so when the battery is fully charged, it turns off the alternator. When I crank a load back on it, the alternator kicks back in exactly the way it should be. Yeah, so I still have a check engine light, but so far it's only because I deleted the cat, and so the oxygen sensors are yelling at me. So I gotta try maybe something different for the spacers to make those work. It's very possible I put the spacer on the wrong one. I don't know. I'll have to, next time I jack it up, I'll take a look at it. I'm not too concerned about that. However, I'm still having issues with my speedometer, and it cuts out and quits working, and it just sits there and bounces for a while. I really hope it's not the gear inside the transmission, because that's a pain in the butt to fix. New speed sensor, I'm really hoping, well, I don't hope, but I think I'd rather have an electrical issue, like a bad wire from the VSS, the speed sensor, than a bad gear inside the transmission, because taking apart a transmission stuff is just a pain in the butt. But yeah, the alternator works. No more dead battery, no getting left on the side of the road. I do need to buy a new battery for it, because the battery in it right now sucks. When I did all my diagnostics, I pulled the brand new battery out of the truck. But yeah, that works, and eventually we'll get the battery put back in the trunk, get it all done up right, and we'll go from there. Until next time, stick with, like, share, subscribe. So sneak peek, I might be buying another Prelude. Follow on Instagram at mycardiy to find out for sure. We'll see what happens in the next couple days. Have a great one, guys. And yeah, be unique, stay unique, and stay healthy.